I'll never forget the time you put Alka-Seltzer into the altar wine.
Yeah, I invented the first wine cooler.
Hey, the nuns went and blamed me for that. Yeah, they did. But I don't want anybody to worry, because I got even.
You beat up a nun?
No. I stole his clothes out of his locker after the big game.
Wait a minute. That was you?
I shall not lie.
Children can be so cruel.
Yeah, isn't it fun?
No, wait a minute. You could at least left me with a towel. I had to go home wearing the Daily News.
Must have been some subway ride home, huh?
Actually, nobody noticed. Except this one lady. She kept staring at my business section. Ooh.
Hello. Welcome back to...
Hey-o. Away.
The Who's the Boss podcast.
Was that good?
I'm Tori. It was very good, yes. Okay. I'm Tori.
I'm trying. I'm Kevin, and I'm trying.
And we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss.
Yes.
So we're working out these new microphones still. There appears to be some kind of little hiss in the background. We're working on that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Yes. I think it's a GarageBand issue more than a microphone issue. But sorry about that. And surprisingly, on Instagram, I got a couple of notes that said that they were going to miss our background noises. Well, I have them written down. Life Flow Shiatsu and George Brosnan 26 on Instagram. Boy. Both said, I'm kind of going to miss the background noises because then you guys comment on them and it's kind of endearing.
I can make noises with my mouth.
Thank you. I appreciate
Helicopter noises.
Oh, and Life Flow Shiatsu also said that the name Honigblum, which I always have a hard time with, one of the writers, they think it's a Jewish name or German, and Honig means honey and Blum means flower. Huh. So honeyflower.
Honeyflower.
Yeah, that's a beautiful name. And they're from Switzerland.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, so I have a couple of things for this episode. First thing I want to mention is that we put together a little birthday fundraiser for Judith Light. She will turn 72 years old tomorrow. So I put together a little fundraising page through Broadway Cares. So if you go to donate.broadwaycares.org/JLBF, and I'll also put it in the show notes, and it's on the Instagram. So if you'd like to donate and leave a little birthday message, then... I don't know. I'll put it on Twitter for her birthday and see if she sees it. But I just thought it would be a cute thing to do.
Because that's nice.
I also kind of want to, as we go along throughout the year, try to line it up with other birthdays, or we can just do it for a little period of time. We're never going to have commercials on this show, but it would be nice to just kind of promote a charity that's important to each of the cast members throughout the year. Or
we're never going to make money doing this?
No, we are we are only going to spend money doing this. We will never make money on this.
That's true. That is not a lie.
Okay, and then, all right, so for some reason today I was like, I wonder how far Connecticut is to Maine. Because the last episode we did was Semi-Private Lives, where Angela and Jeffrey, with a G, were going to Maine for the night. I think just the night or the weekend.
Yeah, I think it was a weekend.
Okay, but then she said, I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, I guess because they didn't actually go anywhere. Okay, so if they were going away for the weekend, then they probably would have been back on Sunday. Anyway, it was 6:30 at least when they left the house, and I looked, and it's more than 5 hours to get to Maine.
Oh, it would have been a drive. That's ridiculous.
I know. So I was like, oh, gosh, by the time they got there, it would have been 11:30.
Maybe
then you got to
12.
have sexy time after you just drove for 5 hours?
I don't know, may sleep.
Yeah, okay.
Have that in the morning.
And then I have another note. So I've been watching Transparent Season 4. So what I did was, when the show was over, I watched the finale just because I wanted to see the Musicali finale, which is what they call it. But then I was like, you know what? I should really go back and watch the other seasons. So I'm on season 4 now, and there was a flashback where Morty, when she was still Morty, was in therapy, and the therapist was trying to convince him, you're a gay man, you just need to come to terms with that. And he was saying, that's not how I feel. Anyway, the therapist was Robin Thomas, was Jeffrey with a G. Yes.
That's cool.
So I thought that was
It makes you
interesting.
wonder, like, is Judith still friends with him? Got him the gig?
Yeah,
somehow,
like I have no, and they didn't share a scene together because this was a flashback that she wasn't in anyway.
Yeah, but even still.
But
like,
yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Tambor also has been on Who's the Boss? He'll be on in later seasons.
All right. That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just
And
thought that was funny.
everything else in the history of
I
television.
know. I wouldn't have even noticed that it was him if we hadn't just watched Semi-Private Lives. But I was like, God, that guy looks familiar. And it was. So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
All right. So this episode, we are going to cover Season 3, Episode 9. The title is Forgive Me, Tony. It first aired on December 2nd, 1986. And the TV Guide summary says, Tony decides to bury the hatchet with a guy from his childhood who is now a priest. But when he invites the man over, the two promptly get into a fight. I love these. I love these summaries. Again, just the facts, ma'am.
All right.
Like-
It's like somebody was paid minimum wage to sit there and I want you to write a description for each show. And they
Right.
sat up all night long and did it.
Oh,
And just was literal.
right. Yes, just nothing but facts.
Oh, too funny.
And then Tony Danza directed this episode.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it
he's-
the first one? Or
No,
did I couldn't
he's done
remember.
another one. You don't remember anything about this podcast, do you?
Well, do you know which other episode he directed? Or you just
don't-
know that he did?
I mean, don't test me because I might. I don't remember it, but I do know that he has directed one
Okay.
other one, and that Gail Liberty Kennedy also was like a co-director with him.
Okay.
And again, she is. So now this episode was written by Shelley Carroll, Robert Bruce, and Martin Weiss. The story credits go to Shelley Carroll, Robert Bruce, Martin Weiss, and the teleplay is listed as Shelley Carroll. We will never hear any of these names on Who's the Boss again. Only episode.
Really?
Yeah, and once again, this episode feels like an outlier, doesn't it? Like, just
Yeah.
they
Oh,
have
yeah,
a different
that's-
feel to them
Yeah.
when they're not written by the core.
It's filler. It's just filling the gaps
Yeah.
between the episodes that matter.
And so I don't enjoy this episode very much, and I'm probably not going to be able to hide it. But, as we were talking recently about the fact that shows do much shorter seasons now, think of how good Who's the Boss could be if we didn't have some of these like filler episodes. Because they had to fill 24, 26 episodes a year.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So like if this show was 12 episodes a year, you could just really get to the ones that really hit home and, are well crafted.
Right.
And then not have all these fillers. But that's just not how TV was at the time.
Hang on. Before you start,
Yeah.
the last episode Tony directed was Junior Executive. It
Oh,
just
okay.
just came back to me.
Right, yeah. Just came
back to
you.
me on the Internet Movie Database.
Thank you. Thank you for looking that up.
Yes, it was Junior Executive season 2. So very good.
Okay, yes.
And
then
he directs. Do you know how many total he directs?
5? No, I don't. I'd made that number up.
5.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good.
5 more.
I'm
I'm sorry, 5 total.
I think Katherine Hellman only did 1, and we've already done her episode.
And
but I
it's
don't
the
remember
only thing
which
he's
one.
ever directed except for one short called Mamma Mia.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah, he directed 5 episodes. That's hilarious.
nice. Are they spread out, or are they like?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
1986, 87, 89, and 90.
Yeah, maybe he did like 1 a season or something. Okay, so when this episode opens, we have now set a pattern where every day when Mona and Angela come through the door, they're
They're
bickering
fighting.
about something. Yes. And today they're bickering about how she wants to expense the fact that she's getting her legs waxed.
Uh-huh.
And Angela doesn't want to pay for that. And she's like, well, you expense waxing the floors. And what do you think's bringing in more business, your shiny floors or my legs? And Angela really doesn't have a good answer for that.
No, who would?
But she's like, okay, well, in that case, I should just send you to a spa for a week. And Mona's like, okay, great, thanks. And then she runs away. So Angela's like hanging up her stuff. And Samantha is trying to lug an enormous box down the stairs. So Angela's like, do you need help with that? She's like, no, I'm good. And then she just kicks the box the rest of the way.
Flying down the stairs.
And it makes a very loud noise all the way down the stairs. So who hears that?
Tony.
Tony comes flying up from the basement.
From the laundry room basement area.
And like he totally runs into, I'm going to say Judith Light and not Angela Bauer, because I feel like he was not supposed to just run into her like a linebacker.
I know.
But she gets out of the way just in time. But you can see, it looks like she's kind of about to break, and then she looks at something off, like maybe she was looking to see if they were going to cut, and they didn't. And then she goes back into the scene.
Oh, yeah. It's funny.
It is pretty funny. So Tony's like, who's hurt? What happened? What's wrong? And Samantha's like, nothing. We're fine. And he says, I would appreciate if you didn't make that noise unless somebody was really falling down the stairs. So Angela's like, Tony, do you know where my black pants are? He says, yeah, they're downstairs in the basement. So she leaves to go downstairs, and we hear a very similar noise again. So he goes running over to those stairs, and she says, don't be mad, I really fell down the stairs.
What's really funny is about this part is it kind of feeds into Angela's like goofiness, or I don't know, like her
klutziness.
Is the word I'm looking for. So it actually does still work.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
And then
very Angela.
He's like, oh, well, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah.
So Tony comes back to Samantha, who is now like pushing the box around. And he's asking her what's wrong. And she says that in this box is all of Bonnie's stuff because she never wants to see Bonnie again. So I looked up the fact that Nicole Eggert, who plays Marcy up until this point, we will not see her on Who's the Boss again. And we think that maybe it's because she started working on Charles in Charge, because she's started appearing in Charles in Charge in 1987, and this is the end of 1986. So I think that this was supposed to be Marcy, and then they changed it to Bonnie. Because we've seen a history of she and Marcy sharing clothes now and being best friends. And I know she's good friends with Bonnie, but I just feel like they probably were like, oh, can't get Nicole Eggert, so next one in line, Bonnie. So she's mad at Bonnie.
That's true.
Because Bonnie chose someone else to be her partner in chemistry. So then Samantha had to partner up with another guy, a boy, who, instead of just doing the assignment, wanted to go overboard or do extra credit, and her hands are now blue. But Tony says they are also incredibly soft. So
what do you think happened with this lotion?
I don't know.
Why are they making lotion? I mean, I know it's for the science project, but still.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But I remember that as a kid and being like, thinking that was funny. So she's wearing mittens to cover up her blue hands because she's so embarrassed. And she's very upset with Bonnie. So that's it. She's not going to be friends with her anymore. Now the doorbell rings and Bonnie comes in holding an equally large box of stuff that she's borrowed from Sam. So Tony's kind of facilitating switching boxes for them, and they're bickering with each other back and forth and not wanting to actually talk to one another. So
they're talking through Tony.
Exactly.
It's classic sitcom humor.
Poor Tony's just caught in the middle. Meanwhile, has Angela not found the pants yet? Like, what happened? Are we sure that she is okay?
She might be down there.
She could be bleeding out on the floor, and she just lied to Tony that she was okay.
Bleeding out. She's stuck down there. Yeah. Like that movie where the guy gets his arm stuck in a rock. She's just stuck under the laundry or something, under the dryer. Sawing her arm off. I don't know.
How did she fall down the stairs? Yes. No. 20? Yeah, something like that. I know what movie you're talking about. But how did she fall down the stairs and then get underneath the dryer?
I don't really know. Okay. It's slippery, maybe. Tony spilled some detergent.
That's true.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
Okay, so they're pulling Samantha's like, okay, well, if you're going to be like this to Bonnie, then you're not going to keep the sweater that I was going to let you borrow. So even though she was mad and she packed up all of her shit, she put a sweater in there that she knew Bonnie wanted to borrow. So this fight's not going to last long. So they start fighting over the sweater, And they're yelling, "It's mine, it's mine." And it just reminds me of the kids fighting and it's so irritating. And then Tony's like, "Wait a minute, this is my sweater." But now it's all stretched out because they've been pulling it back and forth. It's
ruined.
It's completely ruined. So no one wants it anymore. And Bonnie leaves with her box. Samantha shuts the door and she says, "I'm never talking to her again." Mm-hmm. And that's it. But Tony's like, you should.
For those of you following at home, none of that is on the Antenna TV feed.
That is yes. Okay, so we watched the Antenna version, and the whole scene where Bonnie comes in is completely cut out. It's just Samantha
where they fight
being
over the sweater and everything.
Yeah. So then at the end of the episode, when the sweater comes back up, it's sort of like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
but
the scene's a bit ridiculous anyway. But
well,
yes, it doesn't make any sense. But now, knowing that part, it puts it into a little bit better context, at least.
So, the Antenna TV scenes just go straight from her being mad at Bonnie and then them bringing up Mickey Callahan. So, Tony's telling Samantha, like, just forgive and forget, she's your best friend, make up and get over it. And she's like, "Oh, really? Because what about Mickey Callahan from when you were a kid?"
Mickey Callahan.
Yeah. So,
which is not that ridiculous of a name.
It actually isn't. No, I guess because he ended up being a main character. But we do get a couple, or at least one, fun Italian name in here. So,
and also he becomes Mickey Knuckles or something, right? Or like, I don't know. His nickname comes out somewhere in the episode, and it's something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't remember.
I do.
Thank you, because I'm trying to just summarize this episode because it's so annoying.
Sorry, I know, and you don't. I know.
No, you're fine. So, he says he's different. He was Swamp Slime. And, but we met up a few years ago and we straightened it all out. And she's like, "Oh, really? What did you say?" And he's like, "It's not so much what I said." So basically they met up a few years ago and then Tony hit him. I don't know. So she convinces Tony that if he wants her to call Bonnie and make up, then he needs to call Mickey Callahan.
Swamp Slime.
And Swamp Slime. Is that the nickname or was it
Swamp Slime?
No,
know, that's another
not what you're
nickname.
thinking? Okay.
No. No, it's something that Mickey calls himself, and I think it's like Mickey Knuckles or something.
Tony must have called Mickey because now in the next scene, they're getting ready for Mickey to come over to the house. And Angela's asking, like, "Where's the silver?"
Yeah, the key to the silver.
She's getting Mickey confused with Philly Fingers. And
he's like,
"You don't have to worry about him stealing anything. Like, he was never into that. He was always more into, like, beating people up." And Angela's like, "Oh, he can't be that bad." And Tony says, "One time, he put a fist right through a plate glass window." And Angela's like, "Oh, that must have hurt." And he's like, "Yes, it did, because it was my fist."
These two fought quite a bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which I guess is foreshadowing.
I know. I mean, it seems like Tony was getting into lots of fights.
He's from Brooklyn.
The reason why Mickey put his fist through a window is because Tony made fun of him because Mickey had been held back in kindergarten. So he called him a dog-faced potato brain.
What is that?
It's the worst insult ever.
Dog-faced potato
brain.
One doesn't go with the other.
Well, I guess you're ugly and you have a potato brain. Is basically what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clearing that up. All right.
I mean, it does sound like a very
potato brain.
Tony Micelli in the 50s or 60s thing to say. So the doorbell rings. Tony opens the door, and standing there is Mickey Callahan, and he is now a priest.
Yeah.
So Tony's like, "Wait a minute, you're putting me on. Like, this is a joke." And Mickey's like, "No, I should have told you over the phone, but I just really wanted to see the look on your face when you saw me." So Mickey apparently has changed quite a bit. And Tony invites him in. He's like, "Wow, this is really surprising." And Mickey's like, "Yeah, you're even more surprised than when I put the cherry bomb in your lunchbox." I don't know what a cherry bomb is, but it doesn't sound like you want it in your lunchbox.
I'm telling you, it's like a little tiny bomb. It's a little firecracker, but more powerful than a bomb. And I don't know how he would have lit it and closed the lunch. Like, the fuse goes in like 4 seconds. But it's a heck of an explosion.
Yeah, that's... So, yeah, I mean, these kids were... I don't know what was going on at this school. So Tony introduces him to Angela. Angela's like, oh, I've heard a lot about you. And Mickey's like, oh, all good, right? You wouldn't lie to a priest. And she's just kind of like, well, I'm not Catholic. So I guess she would lie to a priest. What does she care?
That's her way of saying that.
So, they're getting along just fine. They sit down and Tony's asking him, like, how did this happen? How did you go from punching kids on the schoolyard and lighting cherry bombs to being a priest? And he basically says, like, he spent some time in jail and did a lot of questioning and beat a lot of people up. And then at some point, his parole officer helped him find his calling. And now he's dedicated his life to helping others. And Angela's like, oh, such a wonderful story of a wayward boy.
It's classic,
coming up
Angela.
from the streets. And I love the look on Tony's face. He's just like, shut up. And so she's like, it would make a great miniseries. And then Tony asks, do you think Richard Chamberlain is available? So that's the Richard Chamberlain reference.
Yeah.
The miniseries.
Oh,
because when you looked him up.
Oh my God, you're right. Because I was trying to make a connection. I can't believe you just figured that out.
Just figured it out.
I was trying to make a connection to the Richard Chamberlain reference. And the only thing, because I thought maybe Richard Chamberlain had a big role as a priest. So I looked that up and I couldn't find anything. But then when I told you earlier was right around this time, all through the mid-'80s, Richard Chamberlain did miniseries after miniseries, and Wikipedia said he was known as the king of miniseries.
Yeah, so that's it. Because then that's what she says, it would make a great miniseries.
Oh, that's where it comes from. Very good.
All right. Well, look, the two of us put that together.
Yeah.
Good teamwork.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
All
why
right.
we're married.
I contributed. Let's write that down.
So now Samantha comes running down the stairs, and she's like, hey, Dad, when do we get to meet Swamp Slime? And he's sitting on the couch. So Tony's like, oh, that's my daughter, Samantha. She's like, hi. So they cut to nighttime now, and everyone's sitting around the living room. Now notice that we saw Mona at the beginning of this episode, and we're not going to see her again until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Hellman got to go hang out in the back and put her feet up for a little while, maybe have a snack. So it's Angela, Tony, Mickey Callahan, Jonathan, and Samantha all sitting around. And they're telling all these stories of the things that they did as kids. And this is kind of a fun thing that you love as a kid when you hear stories about your parents when they were kids.
Yes.
Do you have any memories of that? I have a
Yes,
few
all
ones
the
that I
time,
remember. Yeah. And so Mickey's telling the time that Tony put Alka-Seltzer in the church wine. And he says, I made the first wine cooler.
First wine cooler.
That would have tasted terrible. I mean, I like Alka-Seltzer, but I still wouldn't want to drink it with wine.
It's just grape juice.
And then Tony tells a story of something he did to Mickey that I can't remember now. But then Mickey's like, well, I got him back. And, oh no, I'm sorry. Tony told the nun that Mickey put the Alka-Seltzer in the wine cooler. And so he says, but I got him back. And Angela's like, you beat up a nun? And he says, no, I stole all of Tony's clothes out of his locker after a soccer game or some kind of game. So he didn't have any clothes to wear on the way home. So he had to get on the subway wearing only a newspaper. And Angela's like, that must have been awful. And he's like, well, nobody really noticed, which is funny because it's like, nobody notices anything on the subway.
It's on the New York subway, so it's believable.
They've seen it all.
Right.
And he said, except for one lady who kept staring at his business section.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. So Jonathan and Samantha are having a great time. And I noticed, too, that the cake that's on the table looks like the same cake from Wedding Bells. You think it's just a fake cake?
I'm sure, probably.
That they, just bust out when they need it and...
When they need a cake,
no one's actually eating cake
eaten.
off of here. Yeah, they're eating because Jonathan does have a slice of cake, but that could be just like an actual slice of cake from something else. So Jonathan's loving all these stories, and he actually would like to go to Catholic school because it sounds like so much fun. And Angela's like, no. And then she's like, we'll see, which means no. We've learned that from another episode. So now Tony is starting to clean up, and Mickey's like, oh, I'll help you. So they go into the kitchen together and they continue telling stories. So, Tony's like, this is actually a lot of fun. And Mickey's like, yeah, it's really cleansing to get all this stuff out. So he says, now, wait until you hear about the one when you ran for class president. And this one kind of hits a nerve with Tony. So he's like, wait a minute. Do you mean that when I put up signs that said Tony's a champ? And Mickey says, yes, and I changed them all to say Tony's a chimp. And he says, everyone called him Bozo for the rest of the year, and he couldn't go near the monkey bars.
Near the monkey bars.
Yeah. And I think it's funny. So even like a little rambunctious menace, Tiny Tony, was running for class president. Because now he's PTA president. So maybe if he had won that class president position, he wouldn't have gotten in so many fights.
Maybe.
And he would have done better in school. Maybe
Possibly.
Mickey ruined the whole outcome of his childhood. And you can tell that Tony's really upset by this one. So he kind of starts being pretty mean to Mickey. Like, as soon as he gets pissed off here, then he just kind of turns into a jerk. Not that Mickey is, being nice or anything himself. But so Tony brings up again the fact that Mickey got left back in kindergarten. And he's like, I only got left back because I hadn't developed all of my social skills yet. And Tony's like, yeah, that's the nuns being nice and saying that you were dumb. And then he makes a joke that he flunked Sandbox.
Sandbox.
Yeah,
So
just
dumb.
being mean. Like, he's really just starting to lay into him. So it all comes to a climax when he again calls him.
Yep, dog-faced potato brain.
And he punches him.
Ugh.
So it's like the loudest punch that you can tell was added in. And then Tony goes down, hits the ground. Angela comes. So they've been arguing now for at least 15 seconds, but nobody heard that.
Nobody heard the screaming in the kitchen.
Right. Only when she heard the punch did she realize that something was going on. So Angela comes running in. Tony's on the ground, and she's like, what happened? What did you do? And she goes over to Tony to make sure he's okay. He's all right. Again, do you think sometimes Angela's like, this he cleans really well, and he is pretty hot, and he's fun to be around, but is he worth all of this?
What is all this shit that's going on? Every once in a while, there's drama.
Well, I know. Fugitive grandpa and the smelly guys coming over for poker, and now a full-on fist fight in her kitchen.
With a priest in the kitchen.
I know. I'm not so sure it's worth it.
No.
So Angela says to Mickey, I know I don't know much about priesthood, but aren't you supposed to be nice? And now Mickey's really starting to feel what he did and realizing that he lost his temper and he's been trying so hard not to. Mm-hmm. So she says, what kind of priest are you? And he says, apparently not a very good one. And he takes the collar out of his shirt and lays it on their stove.
So dramatic.
I know.
It's almost like he was supposed to put that down, but he was kind of standing in the wrong spot. Right. But he still had to go through with the scene and put it down on the... I'm going to put it down here on the oven.
I'm going to set it right here, on your stovetop, and then I'm going to leave. And he walks out the door. So she sits Tony down and wants to see if he's okay. And his cheek hurts, so she's going to get some ice. And he says, good, because I'm going to need it where I'm going.
I know. It's so tough that he... has to take the blame. Like, it's like, well, fighting's normal.
Right. But yes, so a couple interesting things there is like, we don't often see Tony's religion come up, but I feel like he is pretty Catholic. So like he right now thinks he probably is going to hell because he punched a priest. Like,
well, no, he didn't punch a priest.
I'm sorry. He provoked a priest until
he punched him.
Right. Yeah. So
he did call him a dog-faced potato brain.
Oh yeah.
That is grounds for fighting in my book.
I'm not going to condone any kind of violence at any time, but Tony was being a jerk for sure. And he didn't deserve to be hit, but he wasn't being nice to that guy. And the guy wasn't being nice to him either, although he he was just bringing up stuff in the past, and then Tony really started poking him. So Tony thinks he's going to hell. Now, the next morning, he must still be in bed, just being scared about going to hell. Because Angela's downstairs, and she's making breakfast. This is another scene that's partially cut on the Antenna TV version. So Jonathan's the only one sitting at the table. Angela has a little apron on. It looks like she has everything she could need to cook anything. She's got flour out, she's got syrup, pots, pans, and she has a cookbook. And she asks Jonathan, what would you like for breakfast? And he says, Tony. But she's like, no.
He knows he's getting something terrible.
Right. She says, we're letting Tony sleep in this morning, so I'm going to make you breakfast. And you can have eggs Benedict, eggs Florentine. And he says, how about an egg McMuffin? And she's like, okay, that's actually probably a pretty good idea, so bring me back one. So Jonathan gets up and leaves. And you pointed out that Jonathan almost takes out the glass.
I know, on the table.
Yeah, I guess his little seat was pushed in so tight that when he's trying to get out, the glass is just rocking back and forth. So he leaves. And so at this, okay, so what's Jonathan, 9?
Yeah.
So Jonathan's going to go ride his bike down to McDonald's, pick up breakfast for a few people, and come back.
Yeah, what the heck?
I know, man, I miss the 80s. So Tony comes in and she's like, oh, what would you like for breakfast? Would you like anything for breakfast? And he's like, no, I already feel bad enough.
Yeah.
So mean. So he gets coffee.
Always making fun of the cooking.
I know. He gets coffee and she does pour a little bit of milk into it for him. Now, Bonnie and Samantha come in to the kitchen and they are back to being best friends. And Samantha has that jacket again. And I still can't tell what's on it.
Neither can I.
It's like boom boxes with bicycles. I cannot tell. So he's like, wait a minute. I thought the two of you were never going to talk to one another again. And Samantha's like, you were the one that said, let bygones be bygones,
that's right.
Dad. And she says, the next time you call a priest a potato brain or dog-faced potato brain, duck.
Duck.
So at least this wasn't all for nothing. Samantha and Bonnie are back to being friends.
Yes.
He got punched, but so he thinks this is all his fault. And Angela's telling him, this was not your fault. And he says, come on, World War II wasn't my fault. Candy Spinoza getting pregnant wasn't my fault. Probably.
Candy Spinoza.
Candy Spinoza. So here's what I for the reboot, I want a storyline where Candy Spinoza finds Tony because I don't trust that probably. Like he probably should have found out whether or not he was responsible for getting Candy Spinoza pregnant. So in the reboot, I fully expect a 40-year-old man to come in and say, Dad.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Or a girl.
No one will know what the hell's going on because no one's watching this but us. But like, who's
and
Candy
we will
Spinoza?
know it's Candy Spinoza's child finally finding its father. Okay,
but Candy Spinoza.
Yeah.
The child probably be like 30 something, right? 35, 36.
No,
when
because
is this?
it would have been before Samantha. So.
Oh, right. I'm dating. God.
What math?
Yeah,
What
Candy
math
Spinoza
are you
be like, little Spinoza would be like 50.
Yeah. Because, it would have been before Samantha, I would guess.
Yeah.
And she's 47, right?
Yeah,
No,
48.
48? Yeah. All right.
Anyway, I'm doing the math on this.
We spent too much time on Candy Spinoza
Sorry,
now.
we'd have.
But he says,
It happens.
but getting hit by Mickey Callahan was definitely my fault and that he provoked him. But Angela's like, he's a priest. He should have self-control. And Tony's like, yes, but priests are just human. That's why they have all those cold showers in the rectory. How does Tony know about the cold showers in the rectory?
I don't know. He did put Alka-Seltzer in the wine.
Oh, that is true. I guess he did spend some time in the Catholic
Yeah,
Church
maybe
when he was a
actually
kid.
we maybe don't want to know how he knows about the cold showers.
That's a good point. Okay, so he's kind of coming around to Angela's thinking. You're right. He is a priest. He should control himself better. I've got socks that are holier than Mickey Callahan. So he's like, all right, I'm putting him out of my head. We're not going to think about him anymore. Now the phone rings and Angela answers it, and it is someone at the church looking for Father Callahan because he missed the last rites. So now Tony's worried that he killed Mickey Callahan. But Angela's like, no, not his last rites. He was supposed to read the last rites to Ed O'Shaughnessy.
Ed O'Shaughnessy. What an Irish name.
No, poor Ed O'Shaughnessy died without his last rites.
That's awful.
It really is. And now...
Again, Tony's fault.
They couldn't find him at the orphan. There was like an orphanage thing last night that he didn't show up for. And he is supposed to make dinner tonight for a nursing home, a spaghetti dinner. So whoever's on the phone is like, well, who is this? And he says, it's Tony Micelli. And they said, are you the one that put Alka-Seltzer in the wine? Because he's like, yes, I did put Alka-Seltzer in the wine.
He's like, they know.
Right. So they've now roped Tony in to going and bringing in the spaghetti dinner since it's his fault that they can't find Father Callahan. So he tells Angela, all right, looks like we're making spaghetti for a nursing home tonight. And she's like, oh, great. I have a recipe right here. She picks up the cookbook. And he's like, no, these people are old enough. We don't want this to be their last supper.
Oh, gosh.
I
So
know.
mean, again.
And then they cut to pulling out on a shot of the Last Supper hanging on the wall.
Well done.
Yes.
Tony directed this, so.
That's a good point.
He came up with that, probably.
Oh, so that means he directed all those falls, too.
Yep.
Okay, now we're at the nursing home night, and we meet these three older people who live at the nursing home. One is Ethel, one is Ralph, and one is Hank. And they're all sitting around the table talking, and they're wondering where Father Callahan is because they're getting hungry.
Yep.
And it's time for spaghetti dinner. So the lady who plays Ethel, her name is Nedra Voles. The things that I did write down Dukes of Hazzard for her.
Oh, you did? Okay, because that's what I remember her from.
Yeah, notable stuff would be One Day at a Time, Different Strokes, Dukes of Hazzard. She died January 20th of 2003 at the age of 94. Now, Lyle Talbot, here's the thing. Okay, so Ralph is the one who says he's got a hot date. So that is Lyle Talbot. His first credit on IMDb is 1928.
Oh my gosh.
He's been in Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Dragnet, a lot of others, but too many for me to mention. He started in 1928, people.
Wow.
He died March 2nd of 1996, also at the age of 94. And then...
Wow, so he was quite a few years older than...
Yeah, so he's because
she died in 2003.
He's like 7 or 8 years older than
wow.
Ethel here. And then Hank is the other man at the table. He's played by Billy Beck. Mm-hmm. His first credit was in 1955, not quite as long ago. Again, also One Day at a Time, and the movie that I've been wanting to watch, one of my choices from a childhood movie that we're showing each other, Mickey and Maude.
Oh, right. Okay.
It says he's in that. He was on The Wonder Years. He was in King of Queens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder what he did in King of Queens.
I don't remember. We can look it up. But he died June 29th, 2011 at the age of 91.
Wow.
So everyone at this table lived to be 90 or older. I love it.
He's a little younger than the other ones.
Yes, he was a bit younger than the other. You can kind of tell here, too, that he's a bit younger than they are. Okay, so Tony and Angela come in, and they're asking, where is Father Callahan? He's supposed to make our spaghetti dinner. And they're asking where Father Callahan is, too. But the guy's like, because they think that Tony and Angela want in on their spaghetti dinner. And they're like,
they're there to eat.
Yeah.
It's like, you ain't eating our food.
Right. You don't get any of our food because you're not senior citizens. But Tony's like, no, we're here to make you a delicious dinner. So Ralph, who, the conversation right before they walk in, which I forgot to mention is he's kind of like the playboy of the group. So Ethel makes a joke like, what do you have, a hot date? And he's like, yes, I have one after dinner and then after Ted Koppel and then another one for breakfast. So Angela walks in and Ralph likes what he sees. He asks, who's the tomato?
Is that a compliment? I don't know. Who's the tomato?
I guess it red and juicy. I don't know. That does sound like something Tony would say.
Yeah. It does.
And so then he asks Angela if she has any plans after Ted Koppel. So his original date's going to get the boot if he can get with Angela. So Tony explains that something important came up and that Father Callahan can't be there. But these three people really miss him. And they're like, no, he has to be here. He listens to us. You know, not only does he make dinner, but he listens to us and he helps us out. And Hank at the table says he's even offered to give me his kidney. And I don't know why, because I don't have any kidney problems.
You learn a lot of nice things about Mickey here.
So they're learning that there's a very different side to Mickey that they don't know. And Angela even says, you know, like, this doesn't sound like the Mickey Callahan that you got into a fight with. So now the three of them are like, you got into a fight with Father Callahan? But Angela's like, no. Here's how it went down. You know, they weren't friends when they were younger. She calls Tony a little devil. And she says that Father Callahan, while he may be a holy man now, he was a bit of a holy terror then. And so she explains that they tried to get back together to make up and, you know, let bygones be bygones, but they got into a fight. Tony called him a dog-faced potato brain, and Father Callahan punched him. So Tony's like, okay, can you stop talking now?
Yeah, exactly.
And Ethel's really mad at Tony. Like, she's just thinking that it's his fault. Oh, no, she thinks that Tony hit Mickey, and that's why she's really mad at Tony.
Right.
But then Mickey comes in, and he's like, no, I'm the one that hit him. So they're all a little upset, and, you know, he's saying that he's come to say goodbye. He's not wearing, what do you call a priest? Is it a uniform, outfit, suit? I don't know. He's just wearing regular civilian street clothes. And so they're like, no, you can't leave because, you know, who's going to talk to us? Who's going to play games with us? And Hank's like, what's going to happen if I really do ever need that kidney and you're not here?
Yeah, he's got a good point.
Oh, okay. So Mickey says to Tony, I'm still Knuckles Callahan.
Knuckles Callahan.
Yes,
I thought it was Mickey Knuckles. I knew he said it somewhere. He made a reference to himself as Knuckles something.
And Tony's like, you know, you'll always be Knuckles Callahan to me, but to these people, you mean so much more.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think I'm kind of enjoying this episode more after discussing it out.
You needed to talk it out.
So yeah, he's like, you know, to these people, you mean a lot. And to the kids at the orphanage, you mean a lot. And so you really shouldn't give this up because of our fight. So Mickey's still not sure. And he's like, if only there was a sign to tell me what I should do. And right then a man walks out holding a giant bingo sign. And he asked Father Callahan, where should I put this? Now, the actor who's holding that sign there has been in another episode. He played a waiter. His name is Frank Pesci, like Joe Pesci.
Mm-hmm. Oh, was he in the, where they go to dinner?
He's
on Angela's husband?
No, he is a waiter at the hotel in one of the custody episodes.
Oh, okay.
Right,
okay.
So this is his sign, and he realizes that he should stay, and everybody's happy.
Yes.
So he thanks Tony for setting him straight, and Angela's excited, and then the two of them kind of start bickering again, because Mickey's like, you know, Job was tested by, I can't remember exactly, plague and boils. He's like, but he didn't have to deal with Micelli. And then Tony's like, yeah, well, you're really you're
no walk in the Red Sea or swim in the Red Sea or something.
So they're like about to start arguing again, and Angela gets in the middle and she's like, okay, this is great. You guys are reunited. Maybe after spaghetti dinner, we should all go out and talk about some more old times. And Tony's like, I think that we should agree that we shouldn't see each other anymore. Like, these two are never going to get along, and they're just not going to be good influences on each other's lives. So he drags Angela out, and Father goes over to the table with Ethel, Ralph, and Hank, and they all hug.
And guess what? No one's getting the freaking spaghetti dinner because Tony and Angela left.
Well, I guess now Father Callahan's going to cook it, but it is all their stuff.
Oh, because they said they came here to cook the... Yeah,
so maybe they just brought all the ingredients.
Where it is.
Yeah, I think Tony just put it off to the side there.
Yeah, I hope Father Callahan figures it out.
And then, did they bring their own pots and pans? Because Tony's going to have to go all the way back down there and pick all that stuff up.
I don't know.
Then they're going to see each other again. They're going to fight.
And then they're going to punch each other in the face. Knuckles Callahan.
So now in the tag, Mona's back.
I know.
Somebody had to wake Catherine Hellman up from a small nap backstage and be like, okay, we're at the end of the show. You have to come back out now. And they're packing up old clothes. So on the table is a box of Tony's stuff. And in that box is the sweater that got destroyed by Bonnie and Samantha.
Right.
So Mona picks up the sweater and she's like, I don't know why Tony's getting rid of this. It's such a nice sweater. And Angela says, well, it was a victim of teenage violence. It's all stretched out. But Mona's like, not too stretched out for me.
Oh, yeah. Puts
and
it
she
over
holds
the
it up
cans.
to her.
But here's the thing, she's in two scenes in this episode, and they're both strange. The other one's talking about her legs. We're getting the business into the agency, and this one, and then it's almost awkward. It's almost like it didn't get a laugh, and then Jonathan's standing there all awkward.
Yeah, and the kids are just used to Grandma, so they're like, okay,
Grandma
whatever.
Talking about
all right,
sex
bye.
and stuff.
But it also kind of doesn't make sense because the sweater was all stretched out at the shoulders. So it's not like Mona has enormous shoulders.
I don't know. They just couldn't. They had to get Mona in.
I know. They needed a reason for her to be there. Okay, so then they're getting ready to throw everything out, and Jonathan's like, well, hang on, because Tony is still in Mom's closet. He's not done yet.
Right.
And she says, I'm a very careful shopper, so there's nothing in my closet to give away. Cut to Tony carrying an enormous box down the stairs. So, one, we know that Angela's not a careful shopper because she goes to Bloomingdale's whenever she feels bad about herself. But two, we're married and I would never send you into my closet to pick out stuff that you think I need to give away. Why would Tony be cleaning out Angela's closet?
I don't know.
So he kicks the box from the top of the stairs and then he waits to see if everybody comes running out. And they do. And they're all mad at him. You scared the living daylights out of us. Samantha says, don't ever make that noise again unless you're really falling down the stairs. And Tony's like, okay. And then he takes a step forward and he really falls down the stairs.
Yeah, he eats it.
So,
which is impressive. I mean, they really freeze it, but I wonder if he had a pillow on his ass. Or,
I know. What?
Or they padded the stairs. I don't know. He had to have hit.
He really just lifts his legs up and throws his butt onto the stairs. And he's holding on to that rickety banister.
Which, surprised that didn't go.
I know.
And how has he not fixed that thing yet?
Never. He'll never fix this. It'll be rickety until the very last episode of the show.
Yeah.
So, and that is the end of the episode. Wow, we really spent 48... Well, I had a lot of notes at the beginning.
Yeah.
But we're 49 minutes into this. No. And I will say, okay, I still don't enjoy this episode that much. But I think it was cute at the end with the older people. Yeah. And talking it through a little bit.
It's better than what you remember me.
Yeah. Okay, so you go first with the rating this week.
I don't know. I would say 7. I'll give it a 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you were generous.
Well, yeah. I mean, it had its moments. The opening scene with Tony running with the laundry basket and running into Angela, and that part was funny. It had a couple of laugh out loud moments for me. So, yeah, I'd say 7.
Okay. I gave this one a 6.
Oh, boy.
But that was before I watched it. Like, I could bump it up to a 6.5, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Stand your ground.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
We never talked about Father Callahan, who was played by...
Oh, my gosh. Yes, we messed that up.
And I think I messed it up probably a little bit subconsciously on purpose because I don't know how to say his name. So, Joe...
Right.
Regalbuto?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't recognize him, which I'm sure you do, because he was on Murphy Brown for however many seasons of Murphy Brown.
The whole thing.
And when I looked at his IMDb, he really had just kind of done guest spots here and there until Murphy Brown. So that was really his big show. It's so exciting for someone, to me, when they're like a character actor for a long time and then they just get on one of these long-running series, because it has to just completely change your life.
And he was good in that show.
Oh, he was excellent on that show. Yes, I loved him on there. So yes, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot that. But yeah, so I gave this episode a 6. Just because, again, I feel like it's filler. Anytime we have one of these, one of the writers who's not kind of the main few, it always has a bit of a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
It did have funny parts. They didn't really utilize Mona that much. So yeah.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
I pretty much don't have a boss. I'm going to go with Tony because he went ahead and made the phone call to reach out to Mickey to prove a point to Samantha. And then in the end, he got Mickey to come back to the priesthood and to not give it up just because of the fight. It's a pretty weak boss, but otherwise, I really didn't have one for this week.
Okay. I agree with you, actually. If I had to go with the boss, it would have been Tony, or would be Tony, because he didn't get back up and start a full-on brawl in the kitchen. Oh, yeah,
that's a good point, too.
He kind of took the high road in a way. Like, he let it punch him. He kind of knew, like, he messed up. And in the end, he points out to when the retirement home how much these people need him and talk him back into getting back into the... Those are the only moments that really made me think he could be the boss.
Yeah, that was a good point about it. If he had actually started a full-on brawl in the kitchen, then Angela would have really had to rethink this whole...
I don't know, yeah. Would have destroyed that kitchen.
Housekeeper.
That would have been on in there. But, yeah, that's, I mean, just how Tony helped him, talked him back into staying a priest, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram or Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter. We have a Facebook page, the Who's the Boss Podcast page, or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave us a message. All right, yeah, so that's it. I will post in the show notes and on social the link to donate if you would like to for Judith's birthday. And thank you, everyone. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up and tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats.